後半ですね。後半、ゼネラルセッションの後半をこれからやりたいと思います。2人目のゲストが今回来ております。プロダクトの責任者です。具体的な、もうちょっと掘り下げて、ユニバーサル AI どこ行くの ?AI エージェントどこ行くのもう一個掘り下げてですね、テクノロジーセッションをやりたいと思います。ソフィーの方からテクノロジーセッションを話させていただきますけど、同時にですね、ものを見てもらいたいと思いますので、SE の責任者である、松島さんの方からデモを見てもらいたいと思います。じゃあ、早速向かいましょうか。ソフィーさん、よろしくお願いします。
Very pleased to be on stage here today, and I would have loved to do it in Japanese, but it will be a very bad idea. That presentation would be way too short. I would be able to say, "Ohayou gozaimasu," "Arigatou gozaimasu," and that's it. Anyway, it's very hard to come on stage after customers, because ultimately, we don't build the product to make a product. It's good to make a product. We build a product because we strongly believe that this product can deliver value for our customers. Continuously, what we aim to do is to make sure that the vision we aim for, the everyday AI vision we aim for, materializes and is always easier, faster, more effective. Having said that, we all know that the landscape is moving. Kurt has done a splendid job explaining to you how we see Gen AI in the long term deeply transforming how many different people interact with data. And the level of interaction with data is going to change slightly how different people are going to be part of the data and AI building cycle. For those in the room who are data scientists, your job is going to remain as important as it was before. Building models, ML models, what is now starting to be called traditional ML models, poor ML. It was very fancy 2 years ago, and now ML models are still going to be as important. Predictions, understanding root cause, this is not going to be the task given to LLMs. But the capacity to make your work exposed to more people, lowering the barrier to democratization to data, is one of the elements that is ahead of us with the arrival of Gen AI. So you have seen this slide, and again, Kurt has explained to you what we're aiming for. It is a vision that will take some time to materialize, because you will need the right type of technology, but also because there's a lot of build collectively ahead of us. A tool will not be the magical solution to this. Same things as the LLMs won't be a magical solution to solving complex issues such as data quality, split of roles and responsibilities between types of builders, and so on. But on our side, as I was saying, our task is actually to make sure we make this continuously simpler and faster for you. If we look forward, we're actually going to be working on a number of different directions when it comes to our product. And for today, for this presentation, we're going to be focusing on 3. One, which is Gen AI needs to be built, and it needs to be deployed. So how do we make sure that we equip all of you with the capacity to make this faster and safer? I personally come from the financial services industry. I spent 15 years in there. It's a regulated industry. I also happen to have been in an organization where we had a strong model issue one day in one of our entities. These model issues can have significant impact to organizations. This is why, on our side, making sure that everything you build is trusted, is governed, and that governance is not a burden, that governance can be built in processes, is also critical. Hence, our second pillar. Last but not least, there's nothing worse than someone spending valuable time building something, and the something being in a cupboard. Lack of operationalization is exactly about that. We are looking now at operationalization, of course, from an MLOps standpoint, but not just. ML operationalization is one piece of the jigsaw puzzle. We strongly believe that because now AI is becoming so comprehensive, we need to build into it notions of data ops, operational DevOps for applications, LLM ops. Trust me, is something that we talk about. It's still very ill-defined from an operational standpoint. All of these notions have to combine into XOps becoming a reality. So these are the three elements we're going to be talking about. There's actually one or two things that I'm not going to be covering in there, but I do want to mention before we jump into these product presentations. Kurt, when he exposed the Dataiku vision, presented an inclusive vision. We believe every single person in our organization will have a role and an interaction with data. We believe data scientists will continue to be important. We also firmly believe that there's a number of people, we can call them domain data savvy experts, who are people who know what models are, have studied stats at school, are capable of interacting with data, are actually absolutely critical in that journey. And so, as we work towards building our platform, we're also going to look at continuously democratizing, embarking more people in the building cycle. Because again, if I go back to my previous slide, that vision can't happen without them. So even if I'm not going to be focusing today, don't hesitate to go out. We have demo booths. If you want to discuss also, what does it mean for someone to actually really do things in full no-code? What does it mean for someone to use AI assistance in Dataiku? Because these are also very important investments that we're making to continuously reduce the gap and to continuously make things faster and more effective. Let's deep dive into these three pillars. First things first, let's talk about GenAI. GenAI, when we take a very big step back, we can consider that it's two components. Component number one, I need to be able to access an LLM. That LLM can be externally managed, like OpenAI. It can be self-hosted, like a Hugging Face model. And I need to use it for a purpose. The big difference basically between GenAI and traditional machine learning, I'm getting used to it, is that in traditional machine learning, you are building the model itself. Here in that case, you are using a service. So for us, when we think about the value prop we want to bring to you, giving you the capacity to have a layer independent from LLM providers, to accelerate the connection to LLMs, the use of LLM with the right type of security, control, and all the other dimensions is critical. This is what we mean by Dataiku LLM Mesh. We made this announcement in September last year. We officially released all the capabilities in GA in January. Today we have a good 20% of our portfolio of customers using Dataiku LLM Mesh, some much more actively than others. We do consider that the future of GenAI is hybrid, that all of you will be using different providers for different purposes because of data privacy, because of cost, because simply the market will change, and that our duty is to give you that flexibility and that future-proofing, hence Dataiku LLM Mesh. Once you have your LLM connections, great. What do you do with them? You can build code, and it remains a very valuable option. But you have understood with Dataiku, we actually trust an acceleration coming from lower code and replicability. This is why in our platform, we are embedding a number of pre-built components to speed usage of LLMs. It can be for very simple NLP tasks like classification and summarization, but it can also be to engineer your prompts, hence Prompt Studios, and to do things a bit more elaborate with what we are starting to encapsulate into GenAI solutions/applications. I'll get back into that. On LLM Mesh today, I don't have massive product announcements to make because basically the direction we're heading towards is going to be more of the same. Our firm commitment to you is to make sure that we make those promises on that screen happen. It actually means for us running after all the new LLM providers and all the new vector stores of the place to integrate with them and to also offer you the flexibility to bring your own setup if you decide to have something a bit different than what we have planned in a standard manner. In the next releases, we will be adding typically Mistral, MongoDB, and a few other new providers. We're also making sure that we adapt ourselves to whatever is changing on the big players out there. This is a way for us to provide you with lower TCO to LLM connections. On the rest, it means that all of this is available with the right type of capabilities to get started with using those LLMs from RAG standpoint, from an audit trail standpoint, from a cost standpoint. On the capacity to create more quickly GenAI use cases, there are for those of you who know Dataiku, you know that we have yellow for no-code, we have green for visual models, and we've introduced some new recipes that are the pink recipes. The pink recipes are for GenAI. We're also adding to that some pre-built capabilities, notably towards chat use cases. The capacity to interact and get answers from GenAI is today, I would say, probably representing a good 70% of the GenAI investments being made by organizations. Because for complex, large organizations, accessing information is always tricky. And so this is why it has been a key focus. On our side, we actually, it's now past soon available to all. It is available. We have released something called Dataiku Answers, which is a scalable framework to allowing you to create your chat applications with full control, your data, we don't see anything, either for contents, so it can be PDFs, it can be information taken from a website, or with datasets. Datasets is a recent addition, actually, from last week. Finally, on the LLM side, on the GenAI side, we think that over time, use cases are going to become a bit more complicated. And as they're going to become a bit more complicated, so are going to become the needs of having the right type of usage understanding, cost control, performance management, and having advanced guardrails. What I mean by that is today, in the LLM mesh, we provide you with the capacity to put in place the right type of guard railings, the right type of control at the connection level, meaning you can control your OpenAI connection. In this advanced set of capabilities, we take you to the use case level. We allow you to control the performance of your LLMs for a precise use case with a fully visual LLM evaluation recipe, which is going to come out in the next few months. We will allow you with the capacity to make cost blockers at the user level, possibly at the use case level. Same for what do we consider as being data sensitive. Data sensitive is not the same for an HR use case and a manufacturing use case, typically. And so giving you that flexibility to pretty much use the LLM mesh with much more flexibility for your different use cases is what we see as being the future next step. All of these elements that you see on the screen are going to be released, let's say in the next 6 months. And we will continue after that to understand the needs expressed by our customers to further continue building forward. Still works. Okay, so we talked about building, and that's great. Now let's talk about governance and controls. On the governance side, we have a flexible architecture in Dataiku to build, this is what we called design, to deploy, where we have different types of environments, notably the automation space. But we've also added in the past few years a space to govern. And we're very, very boring. We actually called it govern. In that governance area, our objective is to allow you to close the disconnect that can exist between governance practices. Typically, I can't put something in production without asking for a sign-off from that professional in IT, into an operational reality. We're also allowing you to actually understand what is the breadth of what's happening in your AI journey. When you have 1,000 users working on Dataiku, it probably means they're working on at least 5 projects. So it means at least 5,000 projects. And it also means that they have created before. So probably they have 1,000 things running in production. Being able to understand what's using GenAI, not using GenAI, what qualifies for what type of business outcome is critical. So with GenAI in line of sight, but also with in line of sight the fact that regulation on AI is arriving, notably in EU with the EU Act, we are reinforcing this offer with a number of things. The GenAI Portfolio One-Stop Shop, which is already live. We're adding an LLM registry, which is here to help you qualify all your LLM usage and define how and when is it suitable to use a certain LLM application, for different applications. And we're also adding compliance readiness solutions, such as on the EU Act, to make sure that we facilitate the journey. All of these, of course, can then be adjusted and tailored to the reality of your processes. Last but not least, so we build, we govern. Now we have to make sure that there's a scalable, cost-effective way of orchestrating operationalization. We have a number of capabilities that have been recently released to make this even more of a reality. We are conscious that the world is complex and that you will not work, possibly, only with Dataiku. This is why we have to give you the flexibility to take whatever you build in Dataiku and deploy it anywhere, meaning typically SageMaker, Vertex, Azure ML, Databricks, Snowflake are part of this offer. We also want you to be able to consider Dataiku as your unification layer when it comes to ops and to governance. Hence why you have the possibility in Dataiku to have an operational oversight on these different operational environments. We also believe that data trust is extremely important, excessively important, and that data trust comes to when you build with a right line of sight on the data quality required for a given use case. I'm sure you manage data quality in other systems for your data referentials. We're not trying to replace that. But sometimes you don't need the same type of exactness for one use case or another. This is why we have built in much more capabilities towards data ops inside Dataiku with more data quality monitoring. We're going to be adding data quality templates so that you can define standards you can roll out to a number of different use cases. And we're also very soon releasing lineage at the column level so that you can understand what are the impacts of making any form of change on the specifics of a flow in your projects and beyond. You've seen my slides, and I hope they gave you a good understanding of what we're building towards.